The hurricane hit Meridian Cove on a Tuesday night in August, when I was still young enough to believe walls could keep out anything. I was 10 years old, huddled in the Castellanos' attic with their daughter while our parents secured the houses below. Rain hammered the roof like fists demanding entry. The power had died hours ago, leaving us with one failing flashlight and the sound of wind trying to tear the world apart. "I'm scared, Jamie," she whispered, her small hand finding mine in the darkness. "Me too, Rosie," I squeezed back, feeling her trembling. "But we're together. That's what matters." The water came faster than anyone predicted. We heard her parents shouting, then silence, punctuated by crashes as furniture tumbled in the surge below. The attic access sealed, her father's last act before the current swept them toward the emergency shelter. We huddled in the highest corner, watching water creep up through the floorboards, claiming inch after inch. Rosie pressed against me, her breath quick and panicked against my shoulder. "Tell me a story," she begged, "like you do at school." So I did. I spun tales of ships that sailed above storms, of lighthouse keepers who guided lost sailors home, of a town that could never be destroyed because its people were stronger than any wind. My voice cracked with fear, but I kept talking until dawn broke gray and terrible across the flooded streets. When the rescue boat finally came, everything happened too fast. Hands pulled me out first. I reached back for Rosie, saw her frightened eyes, heard her scream my name. Then, chaos. Evacuation centers, temporary housing. My family relocated 2 states away while my father found work. I asked about the Castellanos every day until my mother's expression grew too pained to bear. "They're safe," she'd say. "That's all that matters." But I never saw Rosie again. 15 years later, I returned to Meridian Cove with a contractor's license and a foolish hope that rebuilding homes might rebuild something in me, too. The town had recovered slowly, scars still visible in empty lots and reinforced foundations. The house next to my grandmother's old property, now mine, had been recently renovated. Clean lines, hurricane shutters, solar panels, professional work. I was unloading lumber when she appeared on her porch. Tall, lean, with russet fur that caught the afternoon light like autumn made flesh. Pointed ears swiveled toward me, and amber eyes assessed me with unsettling intelligence. A fox woman, her tail sweeping behind her in unconscious grace. She wore work clothes, cargo pants, a fitted tank that showed toned arms, tool belt slung low on her hips. A bandana held back the fur around her face. Something about her stance felt achingly familiar. "You're the new owner," not a question. Her voice held rough edges, like someone who'd learned to guard her words. "Jamie Torres, just moved back." Her eyes flickered with something I couldn't name. She hesitated before taking my hand, her palm calloused, her grip firm and warm. "Renata," she said softly, "welcome home." The moment our hands touched, electricity sparked up my arm. Recognition without understanding. She pulled away first, retreating toward her door. "Let me know if you need anything. I do storm consultation." Then she was gone, leaving me standing in my grandmother's overgrown yard, wondering why a stranger's voice made my chest ache with memory. The heat broke 2 weeks later with thunderstorms that weren't hurricanes but made my hands shake anyway. I found myself on my porch at 2 a.m. watching lightning paint the sky, unable to sleep through the rain. Renata's porch light flickered on. She emerged wrapped in a thin robe, her tail curled tight against her leg, a tell I was learning meant anxiety. "Can't sleep either?" she called softly across the gap between our houses. "Storm brain," I admitted. "You?" "Same." She settled on her porch swing, tucking her legs beneath her. Even in the darkness, her eyes caught the light like mirrors. "I brew tea on nights like this. Chamomile with honey. Want some?" I should have declined, should have maintained the careful distance we'd established, neighborly but not close. Instead, I found myself crossing the wet grass to her porch, drawn by something I couldn't name. Her home smelled like cedar and something wild, not unpleasant, just distinctly her. She moved through the small kitchen with practiced efficiency, her tail swaying slightly as she reached for mugs. "You've lived here long?" I asked. 4 years. Moved back after—" She paused, pouring hot water over tea bags. "After I finished my training. Storm-resistant construction specialist. Seemed fitting." "You moved back," I caught. "You're from Meridian Cove?" Her ears flattened slightly. "Originally. My family, we left after the big one, the '08 hurricane." She handed me a mug, our fingers brushing. That spark again. "You remember it?" "I was here." The words came rough. "Lost a friend that night. Her family evacuated and I never saw her again." Renata went very still, tea frozen halfway to her lips. "What was her name?" "Rosie. Rosie Castellanos." Even saying it hurt after all these years. We survived together in an attic, holding hands in the dark. I told her stories until the water stopped rising. The mug slipped from Renata's hand. I caught it on instinct, but tea splashed across both our hands. She jerked back, ears flat, eyes wide with something like panic. "Renata!" "I need you to leave." Her voice shook. "Please, just tomorrow. We can talk tomorrow." I left, confused and concerned, listening to her door lock behind me. Morning brought her knock on my door. She stood on my porch looking like she hadn't slept, wearing the same clothes, her tail agitated. "The lighthouse," she said without preamble. "The old one, past Shore Road. You used to say it was magic because it survived every storm. You said the keeper's ghost still lit it when sailors needed guidance." My heart stopped. "How do you know that?" "Because you told me," she said, her voice cracking. "In the dark, when we thought we might die. You told me about the lighthouse keeper who loved the town so much his light never went out." "Rosie." The name felt impossible. "The storm didn't just destroy buildings, Jamie." She wrapped her arms around herself, vulnerable in ways that broke my heart. "It triggered my family's latent genetics. We're shapeshifters, dormant for generations until extreme trauma activates the change. I went into that attic human. I came out of the water different." I stepped closer, slowly, like approaching something wild that might bolt. "Why didn't you tell me when I moved in?" "Because I've spent 15 years learning to live in this skin, learning to be Renata instead of Rosie. I didn't know if you'd want the person I became or if you just missed who I used to be." Her amber eyes glistened. "And I was afraid that you'd look at me and only see a monster." "I see you," I breathed, close enough now to catch her scent, wild sage and summer rain. Her breath hitched. "Jamie." I cupped her face gently, thumb brushing the soft fur of her cheek. "I promised I'd never forget you. I kept that promise every day." When we kissed, she made a small sound of surprise that melted into something deeper. Her lips were softer than I'd imagined, her body warm as she pressed closer. My hands tangled in the fur at the nape of her neck, and her tail wrapped around my leg like an anchor. We broke apart breathless, foreheads touching. "I've rebuilt houses," I whispered against her mouth. "Let me help you rebuild this. Us." Yes. God, yes. Learning Renata was learning Rosie all over again and discovering someone entirely new in the same breath. She kept her home sparse but comfortable, a craftsman's space, tools organized with military precision, every surface clean. But small touches revealed her. Photos of coastal sunsets, a collection of smooth storm glass, sketches of architectural improvements pinned to a corkboard. And books, so many books on storm science, structural engineering, trauma recovery. I needed to understand it, she explained one evening, curled against me on her couch while rain pattered peacefully outside. The storm that changed me. If I could predict them, prepare for them, maybe I could help others avoid what happened to us. Her head rested on my chest, ear twitching occasionally at sounds I couldn't hear. I stroked the soft fur of her shoulder, marveling at how natural this felt, how right. "Do you regret it?" I asked quietly. "The change?" "Sometimes." Her honesty didn't surprise me anymore. Renata didn't lie, even when truth hurt. I lost the life I thought I'd have. My parents struggled with it, still do. They love me, but they grieve the daughter they knew. We talk every week, but there's this distance now. My arms tightened around her. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." She tilted her head back, amber eyes meeting mine. "Because surviving that storm, becoming this, it led me back to you, and I wouldn't trade that for anything." I kissed her then, slow and deep, pouring 15 years of longing into the press of my lips against hers. She shifted in my arms, straddling my lap, and I groaned at the perfect weight of her, the heat of her body against mine. "Jamie," she breathed against my mouth, fingers tangling in my hair. "Tell me." My hands found the curve of her waist, thumb stroking the soft fur there. "Tell me what you need." "You." Simple, devastating. All of you, no more holding back. I stood, lifting her with me. She was strong, but lighter than expected, all lean muscle and graceful lines. She wrapped her legs around my waist, tail coiling around my thigh as I carried her to the bedroom. Soft light from the street lamps filtered through gauze curtains. I laid her on the bed gently, taking a moment to just look at the woman who'd survived catastrophe and come back stronger, who'd hidden her heart behind careful walls until I stumbled back into her life. "You're staring," she murmured, but pleasure colored her tone. "Memorizing." I settled beside her, trailing fingers down her arm. "In case this is a dream." "It's not." She caught my hand, pressed it against her chest where her heart raced rabbit quick. "Feel that. I'm real. We're real." I kissed her again, deeper this time, my hands learning the landscape of her body, the soft fur of her stomach, the surprising sensitivity behind her ears that made her gasp and arch, the places where fur gave way to skin, inner thighs, palms, the tender underside of her tail. She was responsive and vocal, guiding my touch with breathy instructions and pleased sounds that made heat pool low in my belly. When I traced the band of her sleep pants, she lifted her hips in invitation. "Yes?" I asked, needing consent, despite the desire burning between us. "God, yes, please, Jamie." We undressed each other slowly, exploring with hands and lips and whispered praise. She was beautiful, all lean strength and wild grace, her body a testament to survival and adaptation. And when we finally came together, moving in ancient rhythm, it felt like something more than physical, like two pieces of a broken whole finally finding their way back to each other. After, she curled against me, her purr a gentle vibration against my ribs. "I love you," I whispered into her fur. "I think I never stopped." Her arms tightened around me. "I love you too, both the boy who held my hand in the dark and the man who sees me for exactly who I am." Outside, the rain continued its gentle song, but inside, we were warm, safe, and finally, home. Summer settled over Meridian Cove with humid weight, and Renata and I fell into rhythms that felt like they'd always existed. Mornings, we'd run the beach together, her in comfortable silence, me trying not to be distracted by the grace of her movement. She was faster, stronger, her Vulpine nature giving her advantages she wielded without arrogance. Days we worked. I took renovation contracts while she consulted on storm preparations. Sometimes our jobs overlapped. I'd rebuild while she reinforced, creating homes that could weather anything. Nights belonged to us, cooking together in her larger kitchen, my fumbling attempts at seasoning making her laugh that bright, surprised sound I lived for. Showering together, learning how she liked her fur dried, how sensitive the base of her tail was to gentle attention. Making love in my bed, her bed, once memorably on her kitchen counter when we couldn't wait. "Move in with me," I said one evening, both of us sprawled on my porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of amber that matched her eyes. "Or I'll move in with you. I don't care which house, I want to wake up next to you every morning." Her tail, draped across my lap, twitched with pleasure. "My house has better storm shutters." Sold. I kissed her shoulder, tasting salt and summer. "I'll start packing tomorrow." But tomorrow brought news that turned my blood to ice. Hurricane Cassandra, Category 4, projected path straight through Meridian Cove, expected landfall in 5 days. I found Renata in her office, surrounded by weather monitors and projection maps, her face pale beneath the fur. "How bad?" I asked. "Bad enough that they're calling for mandatory evacuation." Her voice held the flat calm of someone forcing down panic. "Similar track to '08, similar intensity. The year we almost died, the year she changed." I circled her desk, pulling her chair back so I could kneel before her. "We'll leave, together. We'll go inland, wait it out." "But I can't." Her eyes met mine, haunted. "Jamie, I consult for half this town. I know which houses won't make it. I know which families can't afford to evacuate, who'll ride it out in structures that won't survive." "That's not your responsibility." "Yes, it is." She stood abruptly, pacing, tail lashing with agitation. "I survived because someone pulled me out, because rescue came. I have the knowledge and skills to help others do the same. How can I run when I know people will die if I do?" I caught her hands, stopping her frantic movement. "Then I stay too." "No." Fierce, final. "Absolutely not." "You don't get to decide that." I pulled her closer, ignoring her resistance. "We survived together, remember? That was the promise. I'm not leaving you behind again." Her composure cracked. She buried her face against my neck, and I felt wetness against my skin. "I'm so scared, Jamie. What if it happens again? What if the storm takes more from me? What if—" "Then we face it together." I stroked her back, feeling her trembling. "But Renata, love, you can help people evacuate. You can make sure they have plans, resources, safe shelter inland. You don't have to stay to make a difference." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "You're right, I know you're right, but the thought of running from another storm, of being that helpless girl in the attic again—" "You're not helpless. You're the strongest person I know." I cupped her face, thumbs brushing away tears. "And this time, you have choices. We both do." We spent the next 3 days in controlled chaos. Renata organized evacuation protocols, identified at-risk families, coordinated with emergency services. I helped board up houses, secure equipment, prepare the town for impact. Nights, we held each other close, making love with an urgency that spoke of borrowed time. I memorized the taste of her skin, the sound of her pleasure, the way she whispered my name like a prayer. "Promise me something," she murmured the night before mandatory evacuation, her body still tangled with mine. "If it comes down to saving me or saving yourself, you choose yourself." "That's not a promise I can make." "Jamie!" "No." I rolled to face her fully, our noses nearly touching. "I lost you once, I'm not doing it again. We both survive or neither of us do. That's the only option I'll accept." Her tail wrapped around my wrist, tight. "You're impossibly stubborn." "Learned from the best." I kissed her softly. "We're going to be okay, Renata. I feel it." She didn't argue, just pulled me closer, and we fell asleep listening to the approaching storm. The evacuation convoy left at dawn. 200 vehicles snaking inland, carrying what remained of Meridian Cove's population to shelters 40 miles away. Renata drove with the focused intensity I'd come to recognize as her managing fear. Her emergency kit filled the back seat, supplies she'd packed for others who might need them, because even fleeing disaster, she couldn't stop caring. I kept my hand on her thigh, thumb stroking gentle circles through denim, anchoring her to the present. "Tell me a story," she said suddenly, echoing words from 15 years ago, "like you used to." So I did. I wove tales of the town we'd returned to, of homes rebuilt stronger than before, of lighthouse keepers whose love for their community made them legendary. My voice stayed steady even as the sky darkened behind us, painting the rearview mirror in shades of apocalypse. Hurricane Cassandra hit Meridian Cove at 3 p.m. with the fury of a god's judgment. We watched on emergency broadcasts from the shelter, a converted school gym packed with families, cots, and anxiety. Renata sat rigid beside me, ears flat against her skull, watching her life's work tested by 200-mile-per-hour winds. I held her hand, remembering another storm, another night of terror. But this time was different. This time we had each other. This time the ending hadn't been written yet. The storm raged for 18 hours. Trees became missiles. The ocean became a monster swallowing the coastline. The old lighthouse, my childhood legend, finally fell, its light extinguished after more than a century of vigil. When the winds died and the sun rose on devastation, Renata wept against my chest for everything lost and everyone who didn't make it. 12 casualties, the emergency coordinator announced, voice heavy with grief. Could have been hundreds without the preparation. Your evacuation plans saved lives, Miss Castellanos. She nodded numbly, unable to process comfort when people had still died. 3 days later, we returned. Meridian Cove looked like a war zone. Buildings collapsed, boats in the streets, debris everywhere. My grandmother's house, my house, had lost its roof and most of one wall. But Renata's home stood, battered, wounded, but standing. "I reinforced the foundations," she said quietly, staring at her survival. "After I moved in, built it to withstand Category 5, tested my own theories." "It worked." I pulled her close, kissing her temple. "You did that. Your knowledge, your skill. You built something that survived." She turned in my arms, amber eyes meeting mine. "We survived, Jamie, together, just like we promised." I kissed her then, there in the wreckage of our town, tasting salt and hope and determination. Around us, other survivors began emerging, assessing damage, finding each other, beginning the long process of rebuilding. "Marry me," I said against her lips, the word surprising us both. She pulled back, eyes wide. "What?" "Marry me," I said it, stronger now, certain. "We've survived 2 hurricanes, 15 years apart, and a lifetime of trauma. I want to build something permanent with you, something even storms can't destroy." Her tail wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer. "That's the worst proposal timing in history." "Is that a no?" "That's a yes, you impossible man," she laughed, the sound bright against the devastation. "Yes, I'll marry you. I'll build a life with you. I'll face every storm with you." I kissed her again, deeper, pouring every promise into the press of my lips against hers. When we broke apart, the future stretched before us, difficult, uncertain, requiring work and faith and stubbornness. But we'd start together, building from the ruins of what was lost towards something new and strong. 6 months later, the lighthouse rose again, rebuilt with modern materials but faithful to its original design. Renata had consulted on the project, ensuring it could withstand the next century of storms. We stood at its base, hand in hand, watching the dedication ceremony. The town had come together for this, fundraising, volunteering, creating something symbolic from the ashes. "It's beautiful," Renata murmured, her engagement ring catching the sunlight. "It's hope," I corrected, "proof that some things can't be destroyed, they just transform." She looked at me, understanding in her amber eyes. "Like us." "Like us," I agreed. Inside the lighthouse, the new light began its rotation, a beacon for sailors, a promise to those who called this battered coast home. Around us, the town continued its slow rebuild, each structure stronger than before. We'd learned what mattered: community, resilience, and love that survived even the fiercest storms. Renata leaned into me, her tail wrapping around my leg in contentment. "Ready to go home? With you?" I kissed her forehead, breathing in her scent, wild sage and summer rain. "Always." We walked back through the rebuilding town, towards the house we now shared, towards a future we were building together one day at a time. The storm had changed us both, had taken the children we were, and forged us into the people we needed to become. But some promises transcended transformation. Some bonds couldn't be broken by wind or water or time. We'd promised never to forget each other in that flooded attic 15 years ago. We'd kept that promise, and now we'd make new ones, building a life as strong and enduring as the lighthouse rising against the coastal sky, a beacon of hope, proof that love could survive anything, and a reminder that sometimes the worst storms bring us exactly where we're meant to be. Together. Always together.